Hey, I'm Susan Palmer of LeadCat Press. This is my studio update. Thanks so much for tuning in. Got a lot of stuff for you. As always, go down to the description box to find the section that piques your interest. For the technique section, I'm doing a little half step into a 4-note exercise there. I also talk about why these technique studies are so important. For the reading, I'm playing an exercise, it's the A-flat exercise from Barry Galbraith's The Fingerboard workout book. I've got the link in the bio there. For the chords, I go over some open triads that I think are pretty cool and you'll get a kick out of. For the scales and soloing, I have an exercise to help you learn how to play solo jazz guitar solos. So that'll be kind of cool. The theory section, I go over something cool that happens with dominant 7, flat 5 chords. For the tunes, I play How High the Moon using octaves with a metronome on 2 and 4. And for the pro tip, I have a guaranteed way for you to learn more tunes, which is like the reason why we play guitar. So, use the little description box there to go right to the chapter that most suits what you are looking for. Of course, you're always welcome to watch the whole thing. These videos are made for my students, my current students who, I wanted to make them a little something else something extra during the week, just to review some concepts that we went over in our lessons. So they're kind of fun and really geared toward that audience. They also hopefully will give prospective students, that's you, maybe, some idea about how I teach and kind of my general feel for teaching and things like that. So right now I'm only teaching private lessons. I put all my group classes and things on hold. I did a ton of stuff in 2023, 2024, at least so far. I just want to kind of take a break from that, focus on some other things. But I might come back and do those group classes. I'm not sure. So sign up for my mailing list so you'll be the first to know whatever happens on that front. So enjoy this week's session here. Hope you get something out of it and reach out if you're interested in lessons. Thanks. Over the past few years, I've shared a ton of these technique studies with you, and I do that for a few reasons. One is they help students internalize the patterns. 2, they help with ear training because you're pre-hearing a pattern before you play it on guitar, so it helps with learning to play things by ear. And 3, it helps you work on your technique, specifically your tone. So these are a great opportunity not just to get these patterns together, but also to really focus on several aspects of your playing all at once. For this technique study, I'm going to start by playing just the first 4 notes of the C major scale. C, D, E, F. Now I'm going to add a half step below that first note, which is C. So I'll play B, C, D, E, F. Now the next note on the C major scale is D. So I'm going to play 4 notes starting from D, but I'm going to half step into the D. So I'm going to play C sharp, D, E, F, G. My next note is E, so I'm going to preface that with a note a half step below and play up 4 more notes in the C major scale. So I'm going to show you the 5 different positions in the key of C to play this. I'm doing that because there's some tricky fingerings, especially in that 5th position area. So you can keep an eye on that and, refer back to that if you can't figure out what makes most sense for you. So hopefully these will be helpful for you for another warm-up pattern. Run them through all 12 keys once you get it in the key of C. Ask your teacher if you need help doing that. And hopefully these will help you work on your ear, these patterns, and your tone. So good luck and have fun. I love helping my students internalize triads, and I always start with the closed position triads, usually on the D, G, and B strings. Those offer a lot of value. And closed position means that I'm not skipping any strings to hit all three of those notes. So I'm playing, for example, E, G, and C. That's my first one. My next one is G, C, E, and then C, E, G. This last one here is just a repeat of the first. I do that just because it's easier to understand those notes, and I do a bunch of exercises, again, to help students internalize those and kind of bring out some Jimi Hendrix type of elements in there. Basically, these triads, by having a bunch of triads under your fingers, you're able to decide where in the mix you want your guitar to sit. And so that's one reason why they're very important for guitar players or serious guitar players to know. Now, the next group of triads that I really like to share with students are the open triads. And open triads, sometimes called spread triads, they utilize a skipped string in the middle. So they're a little harder to fret, and you have to be a little more careful with your left hand when you're doing that. So, for example, the root position open triad in the key of C sounds like this, which is really cool. It's very spacious. Now, I'm playing C with my first finger on the A string, G with my third finger on the D string, and then my pinky is playing E on the B string. And then I'm being very careful to, mute out any unwanted string noise with my first finger there. So, and I do that so that my right hand can really just focus on rhythm. It's not thinking about having to be super precise. It just gets to kind of have fun. So the next triad would be the first inversion. And that one, I'm playing E with my third finger on the A string. I'm playing C with my first finger on the G string, and then grabbing the G with my pinky on the B string there. So again, really cool open sounding chords. They offer some spaciousness there that I really like. The last one, the second inversion, I'm playing G with my second finger on the A string. My first finger is playing E on the G string, and then my pinky is playing C on that B string. So if you know a little theory, you can change these into minor triads, but those are some really nice ones to add into your mix. Now, with everything that I teach and offer to my students, I really think it's important to completely internalize one concept before moving on to the next. So, you can experiment around with these. There's no rules. But if you want to get the most out of your guitar, and especially if you're studying guitar lessons with me, make sure you do have those closed position triads, pages 147 and 148 from the Guitar Lesson Companion Volume 1. Make sure you have those really understood well before moving on to the open triads. I want to get you started playing some solo jazz guitar. And if you're a student of mine and you've gone through the chord melody for Here's That Rainy Day, then you are set to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to create a solo section for this. Now, this is going to be an exercise, so this is a stepstone to where we want to go. But I want to run through this exercise with you. We are going to use the exact same chord voicings that you used to play that chord melody, but we're going to alter the melody. So our first chord is G major 7, And in the tune, as well as this solo, the note D is on top. So that's our first melody note that we're playing. All of our melodies are going to be from these chord shapes that we already are playing, you already know. So I'm going to play this chord, and then I'm going to develop a little melody. Right now I'm just going to play some notes, basically, that sound good over that G major 7 chord using the top 2 strings. So I'll have... I'm playing a G major scale. You don't even need to know that. You just need to find the notes on the top 2 strings that sound good with that G major 7 chord. I will check your work during our lesson. Don't worry. Just try it. I trust your ears. The next chord is B flat dominant 7, and the notes that sound really good in this area over that chord are those notes. So if I put those 2 chords together, sounds, kind of like maybe the beginning of something. It's really training your ears. It's using information that you already know. Again, we're building something. The next chord we play in this arrangement, we go way high and we play the E flat major 7 and we have a D on top. So we're going to find those notes that sound good over this chord in this area. And then the next chord is A flat major 7. We're using a D string root for that. You're going to play those notes that sound good in that area. So we've got some different options here to play over each one of those chords. Your job right now is just to try to figure out what sounds good over each chord, and can you kind of string them together. And as always, pun intended. So have fun with that, and I'll check your work during our lesson. I want to show you something cool that happens when we convert dominant 7 chord shapes to dominant 7 flat 5 chord shapes. I'm going to use C7 as an example. I'm going to play drop 2 voicings using the interior 4 strings. So here's my root position, first inversion, second inversion, and third inversion. So I'm going to lower the note G to G flat in each one of these chords, thus creating a C7 flat 5. So here is my 5th string root or root position chord. My G is on the D string, so I'm going to lower that a half step to G flat. And I use my 3rd finger to play that E on top now. So there's my first one. Here is my first inversion C7 chord, and the note G is under my pinky on the B string there. So I'm going to change some fingers around. It's an awkward fingering, but it sounds pretty cool. So now I've lowered that G to G flat. Next chord is the second inversion C7, and when I lower that G on the A string to G flat, I get my C7 flat 5. And then the last one is the third inversion. Here's my C7, and if I lower that first finger to G flat on the G string, there's my C7 flat 5. Now this chord shape, you might notice just because this one is kind of familiar and awkward, it's the same shape as we played here. And this chord shape that we used up here is the same chord shape that we played down here. So what's going on? Tritone substitution. So C7 flat 5 is the same as F sharp 7 flat 5. And that's all I'm going to say on that right now. I want you to experiment with that, kind of move that around your brain a little bit and see what kind of other connections you can come up with using that. This pro tip is for my students who love playing exercises, and I get it, and I'm very thankful that you love playing all of your exercises. But the point of playing guitar is to play songs. So a lot of times I'll ask students, play me a song. What songs did you work on this week? And they'll say, I didn't get to that. I was busy doing all of the other things. And what I want you to try is to practice your technique studies and then play a song. Do your reading studies and then play a song. This way you're building songs into your practice routine. You won't miss it because you're going to do one in between every other section that you play. So you still check all of the boxes, and then when somebody asks you to play something on guitar for them, you'll have some songs that you can play. How cool is that?